Welcome to Gospel Diaries, a platform that offers a unique avenue for artists to share their stories, express their emotions, thoughts, and personal journeys.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I call you Twinkie?
Yeah, that's what everybody calls me Twinkie. That's my nickname,
That's
but
your
that's
nickname.
that's what I'm known for.
Okay. So I am so honored to be in your presence. You've been around for quite some time.
Oh, yes. And I'm going to be around.
You're not tired yet, huh?
Not tired yet.
When I left the caravans, it wasn't easy because when I didn't have a musician, didn't have anything, just me. And I called Mama. I said, Mama, send Ann out here to be with me, my sister Ann. I was by myself, and because I missed them so much. And yet I knew there was no turning back for me.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Vinyl Talk with Tavis. And I'm Tavis. And here today, I have a very, very special guest. You all just don't understand how much I enjoyed this young man's content. And we're going to get into it. His name is Eric Maurice Clark.
Yes.
Eric, how are you doing today?
Man, listen here. I'm doing as best as the Lord will allow. Okay.
I've heard that before. I love it. I love it. You look good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I know you've been through some surgery and things, but
Yes.
you know, God is able, and I know that you're getting better each and every day.
Absolutely.
Well, the reason why I'm interviewing this young man is because I came across his videos, everyone. I love gospel music. And because this is a vinyl channel, you know, I love gospel music. This is called No Ways Tired. When I was a little boy, we saw the commercial of this. And my mom bought it on 8-track. And it has a variety of different artists. Are you familiar with this, Eric?
Yes, that's one of those compilations.
There you go. Yeah, and it has, that's when I became familiar with Tremaine Hawkins, Andre Crouch. Let's see what else is on here.
What label
Hold
is
on.
that?
Huh?
What label?
Look, it was on BET. So I
Okay.
SMI.
Okay, SMI. Okay.
So we have, I mean, all the older people. Dorothy Love Coates, Marion Williams, James Cleveland. You know we love James Cleveland. Albertina Walker, Sarah Jordan Powell. We're going to talk about that. Oh, yes. Great music on here. So I was searching through YouTube and was typing in some names of gospel artists. And I always like to see interviews, not just performances, but interviews. And his video came up. I forgot which one it was, but it came up and this guy was interviewing these people. And I'm like, what? And I just went deeper into his content. And I was like, this man is interviewing all these famous artists. Who is he? And then recently, I saw that he had interviewed Dorothy Norwood, who was a member of the Caravans, a famous gospel group in the 50s and, you know, 60s. And I said, this guy, I've got to talk to him. So what I did, I clipped part of that interview and put it on my TikTok page. And then someone had mentioned, thank you, Eric. I'm like, does Eric see that I'm putting his video up? And I saw he had seen it. I'm like, oh my God, I hope he's not mad at me. But I just felt like it needed to be seen. It has like thousands of views. And I said, let me contact him and see if he would do an interview with me, because I am so appreciative of your content, Eric. You just don't understand. It's just, like you said, it's a gospel diary.
Yes.
So first of all, the first question is, who is Eric Maurice Clark? Who in the world are you?
Well, I'm just a courageous young man. I guess I can still say young man because I'm 40 now, but courageous young man that just wants to inspire people to live out their purpose and make sure people's work is never forgotten, preferably in the gospel music arena, Black culture, So I try my best. I do my due diligence to make sure everyone's voice is heard in their own words.
That is fantastic. And it's very evident, everybody. And it just inspires me to see the access that you gain with these artists. And we'll talk about that further. What is Gospel Diaries and what inspired you to even start that?
Yeah, so Gospel Diaries, I like to put it as this way. The Gospel Diaries is a more mature version of something that I started when I was 13. I started a TV show at 13, at the age of 13, called Let's Talk About Music. And I was just inspired to interview local musicians because I would go to church every Sunday or concerts and I'll see these musicians. I'm like, oh my God, they're so inspirational, but what are their stories? Like, why do they do what they do? So I started a TV show called Let's Talk About Music. And that was my first start. That's my origins as it relates to documenting history. And Gospel Diaries just came to me because I started a magazine in 2020. And I've always had a dream. I think I was visiting my mother. She was living in North Carolina. And I went to the garage to look at some records. I've always been that type of person that like Antique Roadshow and American Pickers and things of that sort. And I wanted to actually bring some content like that to the world where I actually travel around and go to people's homes, gospel artists' homes, and exclusively interview them. And Gospel Diaries was a name that, it stuck with me because I believe that we put so much in our diaries, so much sacred information. A lot of wisdom is in our diaries and so forth. So I thought about it, we all have a Gospel diary if we're in gospel music, and there are stories that can be used to help inspire people and teach, future generations of where we come from. So that was pretty much the catalyst of Gospel Diaries, and it has blown my mind.
Of course, it's blown my mind. And the thing is that the people that you interview, they're the people who paved the way, as Dorothy Norwood said. Mm-hmm. They went through the Jim Crow era. They went through being called bad names and treated unfairly, but they still performed. They came, they showed up, they left, they traveled not by very fancy ways of getting to their destination. They had to travel through cars, going through back ways and alleys, dealing with police officers. And people just need to respect and honor these people, especially as many of them are still alive. And we need to give them their flowers while they're alive. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes me so appreciative of you.
Thank you.
And tell us, for those who don't know this man, again, what is the name of your YouTube channel?
Gospel Diaries.
Gospel Diaries. Eric Maurice Clark. And do you have a TikTok as well?
I believe that's Eric Maurice Clark. TikTok is Eric Maurice Clark.
Okay, so tell us all some names. Just drop some names of some gospel artists that you've spoken with.
Yeah, so the more notable names would be people like Lynette Hawkins Stevens, Twinky Clark.
Now wait, Lynette Hawkins Stevens is Walter Hawkins' youngest sister, who just sings like there's no tomorrow.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Man, it was an honor to be in her presence, just to glean from what she had to share. Wow, it's a powerful interview. One of these days I'm gonna do I am gonna start a blog, and I'll be able to go more into details on how these interviews are set up and some of the things, the logistics that happen, or some of the things that happen, because that was a pretty interesting interview. Because it was supposed to be longer, but we didn't plan it right, so our time was limited. So we had Lynette Hawkins Stevens, someone that I admire. Her name is Diaries Williams.
Wow.
She's the original voice on Jesus Can Work It. How you gonna pay your rent, all your money spent? Diaries Williams.
Jesus can't work it out.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, is that Dr. Charles
G. Hayes. Charles G. Hayes.
Charles and the Cosmopolitan and the Cosmopolitan.
There we go. The Warriors. Bishop Carlton Pearson. That was a joy to be with Bishop Carlton.
You interviewed him before he passed, right?
At his house too.
He made me fried chicken and greens one night.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely a joy. But so many others. Dorothy Norwood. Shirley Caesar, Pastor Shirley Caesar rather.
Who'd you say?
A lot of oh yes, that's the first lady. The Harvest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Ain't that on Rose Show Records?
Look at you. This boy knows his stuff.
I think it
Listen,
is.
the one thing about Eric is that when he interviews people, he goes in the interview very well studied, and they are surprised at how much he knows. So let's see. Rose Snow. Oh, Rose Snow Records.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's one of those, that's the album that kind of catapulted her into a national crossover success, because she was actually doing country songs, all sorts of things. Miss Shirley Caesar is a living queen or first lady.
So you've interviewed Shirley Caesar, Lynette Hawkins Stevens, Dorothy Norwood. Now, what about the latest one? Wow.
Twinkie Clark. Now that there, oh my God. Now I was definitely starstruck. I was so starstruck.
Twinkie Clark of the Clark sisters.
Of the famous Clark sisters, legendary Clark sisters.
They just had a movie done about them. How do you gain access to these people? I mean, because first of all, are you an artist yourself?
Well,
or just well known?
I have a project out, but I don't consider myself a singer. I'm more of a writer. I just like to inspire. So there were songs that was on my heart. Actually, the name of the project is Songs from the Heart. And I just, had a lot of seasoned singers come in and record the songs that the Lord had placed on my heart. But like the interviews, actually what's amazing about Twinkie is like when I saw Twinkie, she was like, "Wow, you're Eric. I've watched your interviews," and like she was naming off certain interviews and things of that stuff. So that really made it personal. Let me know that she actually agreed to do that interview because my work had touched her heart. So that was really meaningful to me.
And I mentioned I made a video maybe 3 years ago about how you never know who's watching you on YouTube. I remember this is a secular artist, but I was unboxing a Shaka Khan album, and apparently her daughter saw me do it on YouTube, and she told her mama, and then Shaka contacted me and said, "Look at you unboxing my record. Thank you so much." And it was shock. I'm like, oh my God. So you just never know who's watching you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with all the interviews that you've done, I don't mean to get, what's the word, salacious? Is that the word? What's been the most revealing interview? You're like, I didn't even know that would happen with you, or has that ever occurred in your interviews or conversations?
Well, yes. One of the interviews I did in Chicago, her name is Elsa Harris. She actually was a part of the Jesse Dixon Singers when they were on tour with Paul Simon. And she also worked with Milton Bronson, the early Thompson Community Singers, almost like the original Thompson Community Singers. But she shared, her hardship of being in the industry, of being underpaid and missing royalties and residuals. And she kind of explained, like, cause she worked with Minnie Riperton. She's on that, I think, back then, I forgot, one of the popular songs.
What's her name again, Eric? What's her name again?
Elsa Harris.
Elsa Harris, and she sung with Minnie Riperton as a background singer?
She did, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And she was with Jesse Dixon and Milton Bronson and the Thompson Community Singers. Old time. Yeah. Wow. And she was pretty much sharing, like, how she wasn't treated fair financially, and she wasn't informed about the business and the technicality of the business side. And you could tell that hurt her, but I'm glad that she had a chance to express her story,
right,
so that other people can kind of learn from that, to let people know that you need to get your paperwork in order before you start releasing this music and stuff like that, because it's easy for somebody to take it or steal your melody or whatever the case may be. You just need to do what you need to do, your due diligence, to make sure that you are protected, So that was really revealing. And then a lot of the phone interviews that I've done has really been revealing. I'll even share this because she shared it with me. One day I'll probably share the interview. But a lot of people don't know that Vernon Oliver Price, she shared something with me. She said that she was downtown somewhere, and she just left her car running or whatnot. And to make a long story short, the police officer was really aggressive with her, and they actually put her in jail. Her family came and got her, but that was an experience for her. She had never done anything. She don't have a record or anything like that, and they wanted to arrest her for her car just being parked, idly outside of the DMV. So that was an amazing story. It's so much.
Right. Yeah. I completely understand. You also, I think recently you did an interview with you see, this guy, he finds people. I don't know how you do it, Eric. If I'm not mistaken, tell me if I'm wrong. You interviewed the lady who sang the Good Times theme. Am I wrong?
Yeah, Blinky Sandre Williams. Yeah.
And now, is she a gospel singer?
Yeah, her dad she's from San Diego. Her dad was a famous pastor. Williams, I can't think of the first initials. But he was very prominent pastor in the Bay Area, very prominent in the Church of God in Christ. And actually, Sandra Blinky Williams, she has a very extensive history in gospel music. She's actually the voice that's on The Blood That Jesus Shed For Me. Like, she's singing on the Kojits with Andre Krause.
Eric, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she had a huge secular career. She recorded with Motown.
So she has secular and religious.
She started off in the church. Yeah.
Wow, that's just awesome. And so again, I don't know if you answered this. How do you gain access to these people? You just call them up and say, "Hey, my name is Eric. I want to interview you. Let's do it."
In a sense, and I don't want to seem too spiritual, but
yes, sir. I just
guess it's ordained. I guess this is the mandate that's been placed on my life, because it's fairly easy. A lot of people I built relationships with, so it's multiple ways, word of mouth. Sometimes I just reach out to them, let them know, hey, this is what I'm doing, and and some of the interviews that you see, especially when I go in these people's homes, like those are the first time that I'm meeting them. So I'm knocking on the door, meeting them for the first time and even interviewing them at their home, and they love it. I mean, oh my God, like I can't even tell you about the food that I've eaten in these legends' home, like Shirley Walls. Oh my God. We had a very long interview, but she was a diabetic. She would get to eat something. I was like, okay. And she was like, well, I'm going to go get some banana bread. I was like, oh, okay. Is this store-bought? He said, store-bought? He said, no, I made that. And I got a chance to taste that banana bread from scratch. And she was like, it's easy. I'm like, girl, okay, to you it's easy, but listen, this is a fabulous dessert, and I'm so grateful to be sitting here with you. And I'll tell you this story too. Sarah Jordan Powell, I told her this again.
When I lived in Tulsa for 20 years, I went to a church called All Souls Church.
Yeah.
Where Carlton Pearson migrated to. And that's where I became great friends with him. And then Sarah Jordan Powell came out there. And so me and her developed a great relationship. So when I saw that you had talks with her, and she's also calling Twinkie on that interview. Man, y'all just got to watch Gospel Diaries, Eric Maurice Clark. You've got to see his page. And I'm going to also put up here, if you want to donate and support him, please do so, because the guy is journaling gospel artists who are up in age, if you will. I'm sorry to say. I mean, hey, we all going to get old one day. Keep living. Keep living. But they don't have an opportunity to share their story. And we talked earlier, and I want to hear you say it again, how we need to really journal these people's lives, because their stories are not told in libraries and things like that.
Yeah. So as a child, like, I was so fascinated with gospel music. I knew there had to be a story behind it. And like when I began to kind of do my initial research, gospel music was camouflaged in other genres or other narratives, opposed to the gospel music literally having its own textbook. I mean, there was a few out there, like Anthony Hilbert's book. His book is Good News and Bad Times, something like that. And then Claire Boyer, How Sweet the Sound. And then Regan Johnson, who just passed away, rest in peace. She had did something with the Smithsonian's on like Lucia Campbell and Charles Albert Tilley and and Thomas Dorsey, and it was the Roberta Martin singer. So those were like the books that I was able to find, and of course there was a lot of literature on Mahalia Jackson. But to get into the roots of the gospel music, it was like it touched my heart. It broke my heart that it was not available. So I took the initiative to like learn because I wanted to learn of the culture behind gospel music because it has a very a beautiful history, and every other genre and every other ethnicity, they celebrate their own history, but in gospel music, I seem like we have lacked, and it's because of neglect. And I guess this is the season, and this is the mandate that God has placed on my life, and the work that He's assigned me to do, and I'm grateful for it. Sometimes it's tedious, yes, but I'm grateful.
Okay. Well, I'm completely grateful. Okay, this is going to be one of those questions. Oh, okay, here we go. So, what has been your most favorite artist that you've interviewed so far?
Honestly, to be honest,
I know it's a hard question.
It is, but like right now, I just added another one, but the first one is Esther Smith. Man, that interview, I was so happy to sit with her, and just the way that the conversation went. Because I don't like to call these interviews because they're basically conversations. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Get more out of a conversation than an interview any day.
And I noticed that you don't really get into the word salacious.
No, I don't.
You don't get into people's petty business. You stay focused on their art, how God has called them to do something, the issues that go on in their lives that can hinder or help. You don't get into the negative stuff unless they bring it up themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's too much negativity in this world. Like I want people to actually look at my channel and say, look, I can take something from this show and I can apply it in my life, and like I can help to build up my community or help build up the people in my community, because that's what it's about. Because when we other people are inspired, we do better at aiming towards our goals and dreams. And a lot of people, they take their dreams and their goals to the grave because of the lack of inspiration or encouragement. So,
absolutely. What's that great quote? They said, "Where's the richest place on earth?
The graveyard."
The graveyard. All the dreams that were never fulfilled and brought forward. Wow.
Yeah.
Can you please tell me an artist that who is passed away that you wish you could interview? Now, I know if I were you, I would love to interview two people. James Cleveland and Thomas Whitfield, hands down. Who would you like to interview if they were still alive?
Well, first on the list would be Alex Bradford. All right, Alex Bradford, he was somewhat of my first love when it came to gospel music history. My first love as it relates to an artist was Albertina Walker. I fell in love with Albertina Walker as a child. But Alex Bradford, about 16, 17, I came into the know about who Alex Bradford was. And I just wish I could have had a chance to sit down and talk with him, because he did a lot of pivotal things in gospel music. He's an individual that comes from Bessemer, Alabama, and just had this, as you see in gospel music history, a lot of people, they travel to these meccas or these metropolitan cities because gospel music was more prominent there. So he left and went to New York, and then by way of New York went to Chicago. But like just his journey, like he was, as a child, as a teenager, he was writing songs for Roberta Martin's studio, getting paid roughly, cents to the dollar, just to survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Ronald Greer, he wrote a book. I think it's called Not Forgotten. It's about Roberta Martin, and there's a segment in that book where Eugene Smith, which was the narrator for the Roberta Martin singers, he talks about how Alex Bradford would come over, and when he saw him, he was just starstruck. And I'm like, wow, to see like how individuals before social media, how they were starstruck just from a record or just hearing a song on the radio and didn't even know how the person looked properly.
Right.
He's knocking on this man's door and he's in the house of Roberta Martin, and he's playing songs for her and things of that sort. Because actually Roberta Martin She recorded two of his songs, well, a lot of his songs. She recorded "Too Close to Heaven," and she recorded "His Yoke Is Easy." Since I Met Jesus, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just, and then like his song in 1952, "Too Close to Heaven," sold millions of copies, a single on Specialty Records. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. He's
well. I mean, there are so many stories about. Well, even I heard Inez Andrews mention in a reunion of the Caravans in which she had written songs, and Roberta Martin, I think, who stole the song, and then she got the claim for it. And it's amazing how those things happen, and we don't know about it until they tell it because it's not advertised on the news, or, you know. Now, tell me about someone you'd love to interview, and they are alive and well and kicking.
Well, who's been heavy on my heart lately has been Bishop Richard Clean White. Yeah.
Wow.
He has really been the liaison or the glue to or the connector rather, to so many different artists, some historical artists like Richard Smallwood, the Clark sisters. Like a lot of people don't even know that Richard Clean White is the one that wrote the Safest Place, and he actually recorded on his album before he even gave it to no, actually he recorded it on one of Matty Moss album, and Twinkie, I believe she was like 16 years old, and Twinkie actually played it, and to see them go around, you know, on not Twinkie, but Karen's her her debut album, and they revisit that song with her daughter. Oh, how priceless was that?
Oh my God. So wait, who wrote that? Richard Clean White?
Richard Clean White, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The safest place is in the will of God. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you were okay. And what can we expect coming up in your channel? Do you see greater things happening, or are you in a stagnant mode? Or no, I know that's not true. I just said that. He got some good things coming up, y'all.
Yeah, you know, it's exciting. This journey is getting more exciting, you know, because of the doors that's being opened. But I'll never stray away from my first love, and that's really getting into like the last pioneers or legends that we really have, like from the golden age of gospel music, leading into the contemporary period. So it's just exciting, and just to know, you know, that I'm really connecting with some of the bigger names now. And they've actually, you know, everyone I meet, they're telling me how much they enjoy, you know, the show. So it's amazing, man. I'm excited.
Well, I tell you what, it's just been a joy talking with you. And everyone, if you want to, I just encourage you to help Eric Maurice Clark out. Here's his Cash App. He said, please, because look, it takes money to do what you need to do. And so here's his Cash App. Is there anything else you accept? Zelle or what else?
I do have Zelle. Zelle is 623-344-9439.
Okay. Well, your Cash App will be shown. And it's just been a joy talking with you. Keep up the wonderful work, because I sure watch. I have it to where I know when you pull up a video, I know it's coming up. So he has his latest videos. He has a Twinkie Clark video, and it's like unfiltered. Twinkie just goes all out. Part 1 and part 2. I saw part 2 last night. It's funny. Twinkie is funnier than we think. She's really, really cool. She's really cool.
And it's hard, it was hard, like, cause, you know, I've never been around her before, so just kind of learning of her sense of humor, like right on the spot. I was on eggshells because I didn't know if she was serious or what, but she is a comedian. I'm serious. Like,
look, I'm gonna give her a little snippet. Look, just like she was talking about some things that happened. You asked her, give me some things that happened while you were on tour or traveling, and then she said something that was funny, and he laughed, and she said, "Why are you laughing?" But it was funny. Oh my God. Well, I've heard some other things. I heard that they were doing a performance, and one of their slips fell, and so I think it was Karen's slip, And Karen just got out the slip and everyone was laughing at her, but she kept going. These little things like that that make us all feel like, you know, they're
Connected.
spiritual, they love God, but we're all human and things happen. Wow. So give us some closing words, Eric, on what you're doing.
I like to leave with this, you know, be yourself, everyone else is taken. A lot of times we miss out on the mission that God has planted inside or instilled in us because we're looking at the Joneses. And I'm guilty of that because I've always been a history buff and always been a writer. You know, as a child, that was my dream occupation, was to become a writer. And I've written books and written a lot of literature. But I said that to say that a lot of my peers, that's not the industry that was popular, you know, more like athletes, musicians and things of that sort. So I kind of felt embarrassed for my calling. I felt embarrassed, man, you're gonna make me cry.
Go for it. I see what you're saying.
I really did.
Yeah.
I honestly, I felt like,
I know what you mean, Eric.
I was like, God, I'm like, why would you put this on my life? Like, I'm young, you know, I'm in the books, I'm talking about people half the people around me have no clue, and the older people don't have no clue. Like, why don't you place that on me? And now I see, and I'm so glad that I stuck with it because He's rewarding me for all these years of people don't know about the nights that I sit up all night long and study, and then sometimes wake up, forget what I studied, or all the times that, you know, I just listen to LP after LP, and just, you know, just man, when I was younger, I worked for a gospel record shop. Man, that was like my library, my sanctuary. Wow. I'll be in that demo rack. I'll be reading the credits on those CDs, going through all the LPs that they had, just learning what I could. So I wanted to always remember every name that I saw because I wanted to tell them, you know, hey, what you've done is not forgotten. And I feel like another opportunity that I have, it's like I'm going back in the past and shaking hands with my heroes saying, hey, job well done. I got you, man. Your story will be told, you know?
Yeah, because they paved the way for all the people today. These people now that I'm going to name, they paved the way for Kurt Carr and Yolanda Adams and Kirk Franklin. And even Tremaine Hawkins helped to pave the. Oh, if you ever interview Tremaine Hawkins, I'm gonna just faint. I guess there are so many people that Andre Crouch, he is my ultimate gospel singer-songwriter, him and Sandra Crouch. And they're passing away. I mean, when Andre passed, I was just done for the day. I couldn't even go to work. And then Sandra's recent passing, because they really laid a foundation of combining white and black people together to sing in their early days. And Andre's last album, I mean, is so it just fire. It's fire. Yeah. And I know his voice wasn't the way it used to be, but his writing was right there. And Sandra, we sing praises and he's worthy, God's worthy. That music today, I mean, you cannot find in my books. I'm going to tell the truth. I feel like today's gospel music does not hit like the past. Like, I just don't feel that. Like, I sometimes feel like, where's the anointing? It's just me, Eric. You know, maybe I'm just old school. But back then, it was spontaneous, it seemed. And I just missed. And I love the fact that you delve into the history of the legends, because their voices and their stories need to be heard. Thank you so much, Eric. We appreciate you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Like, you think about it, like in the 50s, the 60s, you know, and, you know, roughly through the early 70s, you know, there was no Stella Award, there was no Grammy, you know, there was no big platform where gospel artists could be celebrated. There were different venues where they sang, and like we do things locally, but it was nothing on the caliber of like an Emmys Award or an Oscar or something like that. But you know, so them people, those pioneers, they sang with a different focus in mind. Today, it's hard to get clouded in your focus because like it's so much. There's so many accolades people are searching for, or they're, you know, going after and things of that sort, that they're missing the mark. That the music is mostly is really what's important. The music and the lyrical interpretation, because your songs are helping. The music is therapeutic. You know what I mean? And people they're
Yes.
missing that because they're just trying to get these awards or get these clickbaits and things of that sort. But
And
it's
money.
some good music out there right now. It's some good music, but a lot of it, is it's kind of watered down.
And I remember Inez Andrews said this. She said, back then, getting into gospel music, I mean, you wasn't getting it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
You wasn't getting in it for the accolades because they wasn't there. You were getting in it because you had to love to sing gospel music.
Mm-hmm.
You had to love it. It by itself, not the extra stuff that comes with it now.
Mm-hmm.
So you are so important in making sure that these legends who have lived through those times in which that was all they had to love it. You're letting their voices and their stories be heard. It's just been a joy talking to you, Eric. And everyone, I want you to check out his page. I'm going to say it again. Here is his link to help him out, his Cash App. And everyone, check out Gospel Diaries, Eric Maurice Clark.
Yes.
And as always, with music and with Eric Maurice Clark, laying the foundation and letting these people share their stories. Be inspired and stay inspired.
Yes, yes. Thank you for this opportunity. I really do appreciate this.
You're welcome.
Yeah.